For Father's Day, my daughter sent me a box. My wife said, "Don't open it! Can't you see?" I never thought such a simple package could hold the power to break me down, to make me question everything I thought I understood about love, family, and forgiveness. If you're watching this right now, don't scroll away, because what I'm about to share will stay with you long after this video ends. And before we dive deeper, I want to remind you, if this story touches your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because your support helps me bring more of these true, emotional journeys to life. It all started on a quiet Father's Day morning. The house smelled of coffee and pancakes. My wife, Sarah, was bustling in the kitchen, humming softly. Normally, Father's Day was uneventful for me. Some cards, a hug, maybe a tie or mug. But this year was different. This year, there was a knock on the door. When I opened it, there it was, a small cardboard box, neatly wrapped. Sitting on the porch, my daughter's name was on the label. My heart skipped a beat. You see, my daughter Emily hadn't spoken to me in nearly 3 years. We'd had a falling out, an ugly one. I had always been strict with her, maybe too strict. She wanted to chase her dreams, to study art in another city, and I, with all my fears of failure and disappointment, tried to hold her back. I thought I was protecting her. She thought I was chaining her down. The last words we shared before she left the house that day were ones I regretted deeply. I told her she was making a mistake. She told me I'd never understand her. And then silence, 3 years of silence. And now here was this box. My hands trembled as I picked it up. My throat tightened. But just as I was about to tear the tape open, Sarah stepped in. Her face was pale, her eyes wide, as if she had seen something I couldn't. She reached out and placed her hand over mine, whispering, "Don't open it, can't you see?" Her words hit me like thunder. Don't open it. Why? Couldn't she see that this might be the only bridge my daughter had left to me? My chest tightened with confusion, with hope, with fear. "Sarah," I said, my voice shaking, "it's from Emily. After all this time, I need to know what's inside." But Sarah shook her head. "Not now. Please, not yet." I didn't understand. I was angry. Why would she stop me? Didn't she realize how much I'd been waiting for this? How many nights I had lain awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every argument, every word I wished I could take back. I carried the box to my study and set it on the desk. It sat there like a living thing, breathing, waiting, calling to me. Hours passed. My mind swirled with possibilities. Was it a gift? A letter? A sign that she forgave me? Or was it something else? Something that would cut deeper than silence ever could? That night, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs, opened the study door, and sat in front of the box again. Sarah's warning echoed in my head. "Don't open it, can't you see?" But see what? What was I missing? Finally, unable to resist any longer, I reached for the box cutter. Slowly, carefully, I sliced through the tape and lifted the flaps. Inside was a smaller box, and inside that a photo album. My breath caught in my throat. The album was filled with pictures I had never seen before. Emily's life in the years since she left. Her apartment, her friends, her art. Paintings, sketches, sculptures. Her smile, God, that smile shone from every page. She was happy, she was thriving. She had built a world without me, and she wanted me to see it. And then, tucked in the back, was a letter. My hands shook as I unfolded it. The words blurred through my tears as I read, "Dear Dad, I know we haven't spoken in a long time. I know we hurt each other. But I want you to see who I've become. I want you to know that even though I walked away, I never stopped being your daughter. Every time I paint, every time I succeed, I think of you. I know you were hard on me because you were scared. I forgive you, Dad. I hope you can forgive me too. If you're ready, I'd like to see you again. Love, Emily." I broke down. I clutched that letter to my chest and sobbed harder than I had in years. In that moment, I understood why Sarah had told me not to open it. She knew. She saw the truth I wasn't ready to face, that the box wasn't just cardboard and tape. It was a mirror, a reflection of everything I'd lost, everything I'd been too proud, too stubborn, too afraid to reach for. Sarah wanted me to be ready before I looked inside, because once I did, there was no going back. The next morning, I sat at the table with Sarah. She poured me coffee, her eyes gentle. "Did you open it?" she asked softly. I nodded, "Yes, and I need to fix this. I need to see her." Sarah smiled. "Then call her." So I did. With shaking hands and a heart pounding in my chest, I dialed the number written at the bottom of the letter. When Emily answered, her voice broke into a sob. "Dad," she whispered. "Emily," I said, my own voice cracking. "I'm sorry for everything. I'm proud of you, and I miss you." There was silence, then the sound of her crying. "I miss you too." That was the beginning of something new, a rebuilding, a second chance. The box wasn't just a gift, it was forgiveness wrapped in cardboard. It was love, fragile but unbroken, waiting to be opened when I was finally ready to see. So if you're still here with me, let me leave you with this. Don't wait until it's too late to mend the bridges with the people you love. Pride can build walls, but love tears them down. Call your daughter, your son, your father, your mother. Don't let silence win. And if this story touched you the way it touched me living through it, please hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe. Because sometimes the stories we share can be the box someone else needs, the one they're afraid to open, but desperately waiting for. The phone call with Emily was only a beginning. After 3 years of silence, hearing her voice again was like stepping out of a dark tunnel into sunlight. But sunlight also blinds at first, and I realized that making things right wouldn't happen overnight. The days after the call, I couldn't stop replaying the sound of her voice. Every word, every pause. "I miss you too." Those words lit a fire in me, but they also burned with guilt. Why had I waited so long? Why had I let my pride build a wall so tall my daughter had to shout from the other side just to be heard? Sarah noticed my restlessness. At night, when I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, she'd reach over, place her hand on my chest, and whisper, "You've got another chance now. Don't waste it." Her faith in me gave me strength. 2 weeks later, Emily agreed to meet. Not at our house, no. That was still too heavy with memories and arguments, but at a quiet little cafe in the city. The drive there was the longest of my life. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Every mile brought back flashbacks. Emily at 16, storming up the stairs after I told her she couldn't go to a late-night art class. Emily at 18, begging me to understand her dream while I sat at the kitchen table, arms crossed, unmoving. Emily at 21, standing in the doorway with her suitcase, her eyes filled with both defiance and tears. And me watching her leave, saying nothing, doing nothing. When I finally pulled up outside the cafe, my chest felt like it was collapsing. Through the window I saw her. She was older, more grown. Her hair styled differently, her smile both familiar and new. She looked like her mother but carried herself like an artist, bold yet fragile. I almost couldn't go in, but then she looked up. Our eyes met through the glass, and in that second, time folded in on itself. She stood. I stood. And then I walked in. "Dad," she whispered when I reached her. "Emily." We hugged, and in that hug 3 years of silence shattered. We sat down, and for a while, neither of us spoke. The cafe hummed around us, clinking cups, soft chatter. But between us, there was only the sound of hearts beating, the weight of words unsaid. Finally, Emily broke the silence. "Why did it have to be so hard with us?" Her question sliced through me. I looked down at my hands, ashamed. "Because I was scared," I admitted. "Scared you'd get hurt, scared you'd fail, scared I wouldn't know how to protect you. And instead of showing love, I showed control. I thought I was helping, but I was pushing you away." She wiped a tear. "I wanted you to be proud of me, Dad. That's all I ever wanted. I was proud," I whispered, my throat tight, even when I didn't show it, especially then. But I didn't know how to say it without it sounding like weakness. Emily laughed softly through her tears. "You and your walls." We talked for hours, about her art, about her struggles, about her moments of triumph. She showed me pictures on her phone, her gallery show, her first paycheck from a commissioned piece, the friends who had become like family to her. And I listened. For the first time in years, I truly listened. That day didn't fix everything. Wounds don't heal in a single afternoon. But it was a start. When I came home, Sarah was waiting on the porch. She looked at me, searching my face for answers. I didn't speak. I just pulled her into a hug and whispered, "Thank you for making me wait to open the box." You were right. I had to be ready. Over the next few months, Emily and I rebuilt our relationship brick by brick. She came to dinner. At first, the meals were quiet, awkward, like strangers relearning each other's habits. But slowly, laughter began to return to the table. She showed Sarah her newest painting. I asked clumsy questions about brushes and canvases. We found common ground again, not in control but in love. One night, she brought over a large wrapped canvas. "This is for you," she said, placing it in front of me. I unwrapped it and gasped. It was a painting of us. Me, her, and Sarah, sitting on the porch steps of our house, the evening sun casting golden light over us. But here's the thing, that moment had never happened. It was her vision of what could be, of what she wanted us to be again. I cried openly, and for once I didn't hide it. "Emily," I said, my voice breaking, "you gave me the greatest Father's Day gift of all. You gave me another chance to be your dad." She hugged me tightly. "And you gave me another chance to be your daughter." From that day forward, I promised myself something: I would never let silence win again. I would never let pride build walls between me and the people I love. Because love isn't about control. Love is about trust. About letting go enough to let someone fly, and being there to catch them if they fall. And to everyone still watching this, please hear me. Don't wait for a box on your doorstep to remind you of the people you love. Don't wait for years of silence to pass before you pick up the phone. Say it now. I love you. I'm proud of you. I forgive you. Because sometimes the people we love the most are just waiting for us to see them, really see them. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you have someone you need to reach out to today, let this be your sign. Don't wait, do it now.